What is up guys, Deadset here. For the sake of completion, and I have gotten many requests about that over time, today I wanted to talk about a very popular spec in the current Crusader metagame. Of course, I'm talking about the Holy Shotgun Crusader, an amazingly powerful setup. Let me tell you all about the build. It's important to talk about the Holy Shotgun because along with the Firestarter build with Darklight, this build is at the top of the Crusader setups, giving you amazingly fast rift clear times. As you'll see in the demonstration, I'll finish 2 Torment 6 rifts in about 6 to 7 minutes without having optimal gear for the build. I would also say it provides you with better survivability than the Fire Crusader because it's a Holy spec with the Holy Cause passive. And on top of that, it's the preferred Crusader spec for group play because it delivers the damage immediately and your party is not weighed down by the time needed for your dots with Firestarter. Let's go over the skills one by one. Heaven's Fury with Fires of Heaven is the Wrath Spender and main damage dealer of the build. It deals heavy holy damage in a short-ranged burst right in front of your Crusader. Without the key weapon for the build, the beam is going to be just 1. The signature shotgun visual with the triple beams is achieved by the Fate of Fel two-handed flail. I'll discuss that when I talk about the gear, but to be frank, only when you possess this flail, the damage of Fires of Heaven starts to justify the cost. At a staggering 40 Wrath per cast, Fires of Heaven turns Heaven's Fury into the most expensive spender in the Crusader repertoire. The outcome is so good though that a significant part of the build revolves around supporting the cost of the shotgun. As a small tip, to lower the time between shots, you can try to stutter step to cancel the animation of Heaven's Fury. Stutter stepping simply means to make a small movement in any direction right after you cast Heaven's Fury, which cancels the animation and you'll be able to shoot again right away. As for the support skills, we begin with Laws of Valor with Unstoppable Force, an invaluable tool for Wrath intensive builds that lowers the Wrath cost of your skills by 50% for 5 seconds. Only the critical rune can somewhat compete for that slot, if you're absolutely sure in your Wrath stability, but to be honest, you'll likely have to dedicate at least 2 skills to supporting your Wrath, and if you want to eliminate one of the 3 I will recommend for the build, it should probably be the Akarat's Champion rune. I prefer keeping Unstoppable Force right where it is in this build. Provoke with Too Scared to Run is the second support skill of the build. As you might have noticed in my builds, I have a very high opinion of Provoke as a skill. It has a trifold effect of a Wrath generator, of attracting your enemies for easier shotgun shots, and with this rune in particular, it adds very nice defensive utility by lowering the enemy attack speed and soft crowd control by lowering the enemy movement speed. Akarat's Champion with Embodiment of Power is the final Wrath support skill. That isn't of course to discount the amazing 35% damage increase. Akarat's Champ is still an offensive beast, but the increase of Wrath regeneration to 10 per second while the skill is active is a huge support and relief for the playstyle of the Holy Shotgun build. I would only ever consider swapping it out for additional damage from Firestarter if my gear is fully optimized and I can support Wrath with just Unstoppable Force and Provoke. The build includes a strong mobility skill, Steed Charge with the longer lasting Endurance rune. Of course, its presence or absence will not make or break the build, but you will notice over time how important Steed Charge is for the overall speed of your rift completion. Not to mention, it looks badass. Finally, I've included Shield Glare with Divine Verdict in the setup. I like it for a number of reasons: the 20% damage increase against blinded enemies, the hard crowd control effect, stopping the enemies in their tracks for 4 seconds, the excellent uptime, the skill is off of cooldown very quickly, and of course the cone of shield glare is very similar to the shape of the shotgun shots and it fits in very nicely. That being said, you can include anything you fancy in here. A high damage cooldown like Bombardment with Targeted, Condemn with Unleashed, or even Phalanx if you feel the need for additional single target. Experiment and find what you like. As for passives, Heavenly Strength is self-explanatory for two-handed Crusaders. As usual, Holy Cause is a straight-up 10% damage boost, which already makes it tempting to pick up, but this is also a holy damage build, so much like the Blessed Shield build with Gerfalcons, we'll be getting decent utility out of the healing aspect of this passive. Wrathful is hands down the best healing we have for high wrath spending builds, and as I mentioned, we don't have a bigger spender than Fires of Heaven, so it's a natural choice. We round passives out with Finery. With 7 sockets across my gear, this passive adds a significant amount of strength. There's no clever interplay here, just a straight up stat boost. This is it for the build, now let's move on to the gear. The build is quite demanding gear-wise, especially if you aim for competitive timing on Torment 6 Rifts. It requires the full Akan set with helm, chest, shoulders, gloves, pants and boots, bringing you to the much desired Akarat's Champion cooldown reduction. As expected, you'll need several other pieces with cooldown reduction if you want to make as much use of Akarat as you possibly can. Reaper's Wraps along with Unstoppable Force, Provoke and the Embodiment of Power, Wrath Regeneration will take care of your significant Wrath demand. For most cases, excluding some high-end, super optimized for this setup gear set, all 3 skills and Reaper's Wraps will be needed to sustain the Fires of Heaven in battle. This Rondal's Locket amulet does not have any unique procs or flashy effects, but honestly, with stats like these, I'm happy to have it as a simple stat boost. Desired amulets currently look like this: high elemental damage, holy for the build, strength and high crit stats. I consider it suboptimal to look for cooldown reduction in your amulet, keep it as a pure damage boost slot and aim to get the cooldown reduction on the rest of the jewelry. I'm using a Stone of Jordan, the ring of choice for pretty much any endgame spec. For this build, we'll be using a holy damage one. Mine isn't ideal, I would prefer a cooldown reduction roll instead of the crit damage one, but it gets the job done. The second ring is a Unity, an excellent ring for Torment 6 Crusader soloing. The idea is to use one for yourself and one for your follower, along with the Immortality Relic for him, for the unrivaled damage reduction that this combination offers. Any concerns about this combination being bugged should be gone at this point, since the lead game designer of Reaper of Souls, Travis Day, confirmed that it's working as intended. Rounding out the armor is the Harrington Waistguard, best in slot belt for most, if not all, Crusader builds, and of course even more potent when soloing, since you don't have to compete with anyone to get the buff off of containers. Let's finish off the gear with the weapon and shield. Like the rest of the gear, these pieces are rather rare and I've gone many hours before finding the flail, but it was well worth it in the end. The main hand is the Fate of the Fell, which has the unique effect of creating 2 additional rays when you use Heaven's Fury. Coupled with the Fires of Heaven rune, it creates the signature shotgun spray of the build. The offhand is the Hellskull Shield, arguably the strongest choice for Holy Shotgun Crusaders. It increases your damage by 10% when using two-handed weapons, which the Fate of Fell is, and since it's a Crusader specific shield, it can roll with the much needed cooldown reduction. Another option is the Hollowed Barricade Crafted Shield, since it has a guaranteed holy damage bonus that helps for this build. However, it is not a Crusader shield and the lack of cooldown reduction is a significant drawback. The Paragon points are the usual affair for Akan set builds, 25% movement speed and the rest in strength in the core section, cooldown reduction and the rest in crit damage and crit chance in offense, all resistance and then armor or life percentage according to your needs in defense, and area damage and resource cost reduction in utility. And this concludes the guide for the Holy Shotgun Crusader. I'll leave you with a couple of more minutes of gameplay as I finish off the second rift. If you liked what you saw, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel. Check out my Twitch, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I added to the video description, and I'll see you guys next time.
Not yet.